After several tours of duty, a local military veteran found himself in a time of desperation.
He says years of ignoring the signs of post-traumatic stress led to an attempt to take his own life. Marshall Keeley tells us how he survived and found the help he needed. Marshall?
Tim and Jen, Army and Air Force veteran Lou Lusk served a total of 29 years in the military. He says each time he returned home from deployment, people would tell him he wasn't himself.
My kids and everybody would tell me, and people at work would tell me, hey, you're not the same person you were when you left. And, you know, you're like, oh, yeah, sure, okay. But you're really not.
Lusk was activated following the attacks on September 11th and served 7 tours, some as part of Operation Iraqi Freedom.
We had a lot of casualties, especially on my 3rd tour for OIF, the very beginning of OIF. We lost a lot of good people. It was hard sometimes because you'd sit there and you'd have an MRE with the guy the night before, and then he'd go out that night on a mission and wouldn't come back.
Lusk says those losses took a toll.
Each time I came home, I brought more and more mental issues with me, but, you know, you're supposed to be a very strong person and not show weakness.
Veterans are trained to be brave. They're trained to be as strong as they can possibly be. When they're over there, they're fighting for their lives 24/7. It's fight or flight. They come home and that excitement is lacking.
The VA hospital in Altoona sent Lusk letters asking him to come in for examinations, but he denied the help.
And I kept rejecting it, saying, no, I'm still in, because I didn't want to lose my position in my unit. Didn't want to lose the brothers that I served with constantly. I crawled into a hole. I fell into a bottle to try to make my issues go away.
After losing his wife, his children, and his house, Lusk says he hit rock bottom.
I got to a very low point where I, in fact, did attempt to take my own life. At that time, I was too intoxicated and forgot that I didn't put the firing pin back in the weapon. Thank God.
The story ended differently for Bethany Hildebrand's family.
Almost 3 years ago, I lost my brother-in-law to suicide. He was 26 years old, and the war at home was a lot tougher than he thought that it was going to be. I never realized that there was an epidemic with veterans and suicide. I never realized that until it was too late.
Hildebrand is now the Pennsylvania leader for the national nonprofit Mission 22. According to the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs, over 20 veterans die by suicide each day on average. Mission 22 funds treatment for veterans suffering from post-traumatic stress and traumatic brain injuries.
I got into Mission 22 when I went to a Wounded Warrior event, and I talked to a gentleman, and I made a promise to him and I made a promise to myself that I would never go to where I was before, to the point where I would attempt to take my life again.
Lusk wears a .22 kill ring on his trigger finger to remind him of that promise. A .22 tattooed on his arm lets other veterans know what he's gone through and that he has their back, just like the men in Lusk's unit had his.
You could openly go in and sit down with one of them, any of them, and cry on their shoulder about issues you were having, and they could do the same.
They need to have that brotherhood or that camaraderie back home as well, and they need to support each other. They need to talk.
Last week, Hildebrand met Lusk for the first time. She says hearing stories like his makes her want to keep pushing.
I go out and I do events and I try to spread awareness as much as I can, but to see somebody that actually benefited from that just touched my soul.
Lusk says he's entered a new chapter in his life, one that includes his new service dog, Jade. Lusk says his traumatic brain injury makes him easily angered, but Jade has changed that.
I can't see anything once I'm in that anger mode, and for some reason she keeps me calm, and you know, she'll come up and put her head onto me and like give me a dog hug, and it just takes that away. It's just amazing.
Hildebrand and Lusk want veterans and their families to know help is available.
I just encourage every family of a veteran, whether active duty or not, to educate yourselves, find some warning signs. Don't be afraid to ask questions.
It takes a lot to look at yourself in a mirror and break down and admit that you have issues, but when you do get to that point and you accept it and then you go to get help for it, it makes things so much better for you and everybody around you. I want to help everybody who's in that point or almost to that point where I was, to keep them from doing this. We got to break that chain of 22 a day.
And Lusk is helping do just that. He has a National Mental Health First Aid Instructor certification and routinely leads classes with veterans and first responders. If you're a veteran in need of immediate support, please call Veterans for Warriors at 1-855-838-8255. And for more information on Mission 22, head to our website, WJACTV.com. Reporting live in Blair County, Marshall Keeley, 6 News.